Hello, I'm Chuck Wolf, Chief Executive for Charles J. Wolf Associates, LLC. As a motivational speaker and a leadership consultant and executive coach and trainer, I often work with very successful people in their companies. Since many can't afford a professional, I volunteer to host a radio talk show called The Emotion Roadmap, Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel, on a nonprofit community radio station in Bridgeport, Connecticut, WPKN. My reason for doing the show is to share with as many people as possible this wonderful process for helping people manage their own emotions and their relationships with others. My goal is for everyone listening to learn to use the Emotion Roadmap to make life better. As you listen to me, help others, I hope you are also learning. As a Simsbury resident, I'm delighted to be able to make the show available through Simsbury TV. To learn more, go to my website, www.emotionroadmap.com. Thank you for listening and watching. And this is Chuck Wolf, and you're listening to the Emotion Roadmap, Take the Wheel and Control How You Feel. And as you just heard, you're listening to WPKN 89.5 FM, serving Fairfield, New Haven, and Litchfield counties in Connecticut and Suffolk County in New York, as well as communities around the world via podcast and streaming at WPKN.org. In case you missed the show last week, there was a show that I did about hiring managers, and what they're saying is that emotional intelligence is a key skill, one of the key competencies necessary for now and in the future, and people are looking to hire people who are highly skilled in this area. Now, when we say highly skilled in this area, what does it actually mean? And if you missed the show last week, you may want to go to the podcast and listen on either SoundCloud, iTunes, or Stitcher. Find the Emotion Roadmap in this past week's show, and because I talk a little bit about the skills that are necessary for people to see you as talented in this area called emotional intelligence. So I want you to be learning about emotional intelligence. That's one of the reasons why I do the show, is that as a volunteer, like other volunteer programmers here at the station, I want people to learn something. And in the case of our music programmers, a lot of times when you're listening to our station, those of you that listen regularly know that we have really brilliant people that spend a lot of time researching the history of the music they play, providing, facts about the music that you hear. And you don't just hear the music, you understand where it originates, who the artists are, what the history behind the music is. You're just listening to I Messiah. I also follow Carl Frano. These folks do a great job with the music that they talk about and what they know about, and other programs as well do on our station. And so it's one of the reasons why we got that award for one of the best independent radio stations in the state of Connecticut. So my show is all about helping you learn how to take control over your emotions. Take the wheel and control how you feel. That's the tagline. I love the tagline because it says, you know what? If you're not feeling the way you want to feel, you can do something about that. So for everybody that's listening today and tuning in that are regular listeners, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate those of you that listen. I appreciate the notes I get from people that email me about a particular show they really liked, or on occasion I'll get a phone call from someone that just says, hey, this was great. I really, really appreciate you doing this. And then those of you who have the courage to call in, sometimes it's not just courage, it's the need, because the show's about helping people, each of you listening, to understand more about managing emotions. And when you listen to me talk about different areas of emotion management, you get a sense of what I've learned over the years that helps people to be smarter about what they do with their own emotions, what they do with influencing the people that are close to them that they care about, and those maybe they don't care about but have to work with, how to influence their emotions as well. So you're learning a lot about that. But the people that actually call, they get my time and my energy and my knowledge and my experience helping them directly. But it's not easy to call, because what might you call about? If you're new to the show's about having you call in and share something where you're stuck, where you're not certain about how to proceed, where a decision you're about to make is really keeping you up at night because you just don't know what choice to make. and maybe you're torn between a couple of key options, or maybe you don't know at all what you should do. And what I found in the work that I do, I work as an executive coach, as a keynote speaker. I always am working with leaders at multiple levels, sometimes first-time leaders, sometimes people in what they call the C-suite, chief executive officers, chief marketing officers, chief technology officers. But the point is that when I'm working with people, I'm trying to help each of them understand how to be more effective at what they do. That's what I'm trying to do with each of you on this show here, is help you with a process that I've learned called the Emotion Roadmap that really helps people deal with challenging emotional situations. And the curious thing is, when I find people are stuck, especially the people I work with who are often very smart, really good critical thinkers, effective problem solvers, when they're stuck, it seems to me almost all the time it's because something emotional is happening with them. Something's going on inside of them. Something emotional is churning inside of them. And that might be happening for you right now. Are you in a place where you're really unclear about what to do next in a situation that's kind of tearing you up a bit? And even if it's not really that upsetting, but you're just really unclear about what to do going forward, and it's an important decision, would you like some help? Because that's what the show is about. It's about getting you that help. What happens is, if you call in and you share with me something where you're stuck, and it might be something at work with, someone who you work for, one of the topics, I always come in with a few topics to talk about, if you're new to the show too, because you never know who's going to call or whether I'm going to get calls. So I always want to have some topics to talk about. One of them today is, how do you deal with an abusive boss? And I'll be talking about that in a little bit. And actually, I'm working with a person today, and I've worked with people in the past who have had to deal with abusive bosses. Maybe you're one of those people struggling with that. Or maybe it's somebody that you're dealing with that works for you, that is just, they have a lot of talent, and you really want to keep them and retain them. You know that they add value, but they're complicated. They don't get along so well with maybe some of the other people that they work with. Or they challenge you inappropriately. How do you work with them? Or maybe it's, something with a peer that you're just struggling with. You have to do things together, and you have different styles, you have different values, and as a result, you want to make different choices about what's the best way to proceed. And so you're struggling there. And again, if you call me, one of the things that happens is I walk you through this emotion roadmap. I ask you, so how are you feeling right now about what you just told me about? What is your current feeling about that? And then if there's one person you're dealing with in particular, how do you think he or she is feeling right now? And what would be ideal for you to feel? If we could make magic happen together on this radio show for you, what would be ideal for you to feel? Now and in the future. Now and going forward. And what would be ideal for the person or people, if there's more than one, it's possible that you're dealing with more than one person, what would be ideal for him or her or them to feel? And then I help you figure that out. And in working with you, everybody listening learns some more about dealing with this emotion roadmap in a constructive way that helps you get unstuck, that helps you become clear-eyed about what the right choice is. Helps you to feel hopeful instead of feeling helpless about what it is you're struggling with. Now, on occasion, people are good enough to call back and say, hey, you know what? That worked. That was really great. And it's fun to hear feedback that says, hey, you know what? I actually helped somebody in a way that made a difference for them, because frankly, I do the show because I like making a difference for people. I like making a meaningful difference for folks. I really enjoy that. So, the number to call, in case you got something that you'd like to talk to me about, you can call right away, is 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. Now, I'll take just a moment and allow for some time for people to think a bit about, That's interesting. I wonder if I should call. Well, let me tell you, at the end of the hour, because I'm on for an hour, I'm on the first and second Wednesdays of each month from 12 to 1 p.m. as part of the WPKN Community Strip. And at the end of the hour, if you'll listen to the show and you'll like what I have to say, and you're still stuck because you haven't really thought about your own problem and how to deal with it, you're going to feel like, geez, that's too bad. I really missed that opportunity. And I'm not back on until the first week of November. So if you've got something, again, if you got something you think that's really pressing that you'd like to share and get some expert help with, then please feel free to give me a call. And know that not only are you reaching out and getting some help for yourself with a situation you're struggling with. And by the way, it doesn't have to be just for you. Sometimes people call in about someone that's close to them that's struggling, and they want to know how to help that person. It also might be something that's at home. It doesn't have to be about work. It really can be anything in your community, something with your family that isn't quite working. Because oftentimes the places we get stuck are with personal situations and family. We've got our first caller. Hi, this is Chuck Wolf. You're on the air. Who am I talking to, please? Hello? Oh. Well, whoever was thinking about talking to me didn't quite stay on the line long enough. Okay. You can try again, though. Again, the number's 203-336-9756. I'll wait a minute and give you a chance to call back if you like. 203-336-9756. Well, okay. So I hope you choose to call back, whoever it was that was trying to call. And, we got it. Okay, let's see if it works. Hi, this is Chuck Wolf. You're on the air. Who am I talking to, please?
My name's Mike Owen.
Mike, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, Mike. I just like being able to use a first name. How can I help you today?
Well, this isn't work-related. I've been going through this thing with my family. I'm 67. My kids, my daughter's 40. My son's 37. I've been divorced for 15 years. I was married to my ex for 30 years. And she has been in an abusive marriage. Now, she got out last year. And through a great deal of stress, she called me. I lived 3 miles up the road from where she lived, and get up here right now, Dad. And so I went up there and watched her getting thrown down a set of stairs. And I went in the house and pushed his parents out of the way so that I could get at the front of the line for the next, because she went charging right back up the stairs. Turns out that's where her husband was holding her kids. Anyway, long story short, I got arrested, she got arrested, she ended up moving in with me, and then started screaming at me all the time because it was what she was used to doing. Well, long story short, I ended up becoming her abuser in a sense. My bright idea was to throw a brick through her car window, and I didn't really care. I bought the car for her, so I figured it was a window, but it wasn't a window because of the background of the story. So anyway, now everybody is punishing me. That is my ex, who sort of can't wait, both my kids. My son's back here now from France, and he's basically, if he talks to me at all, he just reads me the riot act. And I have admitted over and over that this was, one of the dumber things I've done in a long history of doing dumb things. and nobody wants to talk to me. So I'm saying things like, well, if you give me nothing to work with, then I'm just going to move on to a different agenda. Now that has been something that's been picked up and turned into something that, I'm saying things like, that's because I've got no choice. So anyway, I've apologized, and nothing changes. And I am not willing to just stand around and get abused. So, got any bright ideas?
Yeah, that's a lot that's going on in your life, Mike. A lot of it not very good, and some of it you own, obviously, for some of the things that ended up happening. But also the part of the story is how you were trying to be protective of your child as well. One of the things I guess I always ask when somebody asks for some advice is, do you have any options on the table right now? You said that you're not, you don't want to stay around and get abused anymore. And the abuse you're experiencing is everybody, if they deal with you at all, it's just to be mad at you and, say nasty things. And that's, and you're unwilling to just continue in that way. So, do you have any options on the table yourself right now before I jump in and try and be helpful?
You mean for how to deal with this?
Yeah. I mean, do you have anything you think of?
Ignore it. Move on to my, the rest of my agenda.
So when you say ignore it,
like I say, I've apologized profusely to all concerned, and it doesn't seem to make any difference.
No, I get that. So in terms of being able to ignore it, what does that mean to you? Does that mean like you're not going to ever talk to them again, or because every time you talk to them?
Oh, no, I'm perfectly willing to engage. It's they don't want to engage with me in any way that's constructive.
So what do you mean by ignore it then? What do you mean by ignore it? Tell me more about that. What is that?
Well,
how does that show?
We don't live together. These are adult children.
Right.
My assumption is, although a friend of mine argues with this, and maybe you got some insight on this too, that because they're your children, you can never treat them as equals. Now, I think she's wrong, but it seems to play out that way.
Well, I mean, I think
with my daughter, and she says something. I don't know. I say sort of casually, well, she is not very tall because she started her period early, and that turned out to be the horrible thing to say. Now, I assumed because she's 40 years old, you can talk about having a period, but not if you're her father.
Yeah.
That's what my friend is telling me.
Well, you asked for some insight on that. So let me offer you a thought or two about it. I think that yes, you can be equals in certain ways, but not always. And you can't be. It isn't like a friend that you might have, although you can be friends. So it's nuanced. It isn't that simple to say yes or no to this. I think there are ways that you might be equal. You might be equal in knowledge about certain things. Your daughter or son might be more knowledgeable about some things than you are, and you more than them about others. And you can treat them as equals in certain ways, but there are some things that always are about the fact that you are in a familial relationship with the other child and you're the dad, and that's never changing. And so it's not quite the same as you can be friends with them in the way that you can be friends with others. But you can be friends with them, if that makes any sense. Does that feel?
Well, I guess it does make sense in a sense.
Okay.
Like I've got friends who have public presences. They're authors, they're doctors. They are careful about the language they use when they're getting interviewed.
Sure.
Or when they write. But when you get in the car with them and roll around, they're using every, foul language expression that everybody else does.
Right.
So what you're seem to be saying to me is that I need to formalize this relationship.
You want to think. You want to think about. Yeah. You. Yeah, well, first...
I'm looking for the most intimate relationship, and you're telling me, yeah, well, dream on, white boy.
Well, I'm not saying you can't have an intimate relationship, because, no, I think you can. But you also have...
Yeah, but an intimate relationship with an adult that doesn't involve sexuality, particularly when you're talking about marriage, seems to me to be a useless intimate relationship.
Well, what I find with my children is, and I have we're about the same age, and my children are older too, is that I don't offer advice all the time without asking, would you like to know what I think about that? Or would you like to know what my...
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
You know, so it's like...
It's certainly not something I do routinely. I'm a very assertive person.
And so, you know, if you're a little bit thoughtful about it that way, I think that would help a bit on this. I don't know that it's the whole answer, but I think you want to... This is true not just about your children, by the way. It's true in relationships in general, where, you know, sometimes you just want to say what you want to say because it's how you're feeling. And while you might feel like that's being truthful and honest and authentic and all the good things you read about how to communicate, at the same time, what I've learned is that if what I'm about to say is going to cause somebody to have a really strong reaction, an emotional reaction that's pretty damn negative, then while it might be authentic for me to share it, maybe I want to stop myself and just say, is there a way to be authentic and share it in a way that isn't so direct and is going to create the kind of negativity that is likely to result if I just say it without thinking?
Yeah, that's good advice.
So part of that might be helpful to you.
I just started a relationship with a woman who's, I'm white, she's black, right? Yeah. And I'm very sensitive to what I say and what I do. Like, you know, if I put on a record that has some racist lyrics in it, even though, you know, because the definition of racism is an ever-evolving thing.
That's true, right? Yeah.
I am very sensitive to her listening to it. So, you know, this would sort of roughly translate into what you're saying about my relationship.
Yeah, so you're on the same track, and that's good, which is that, you know, where it's obvious that you're dating someone that is a different hue or color than you, it's really right there all the time, very obvious, where you're with your children, you feel like I can just be relaxed and be myself. But with the relationship you have right now, I think you want to be a little guarded and a little more thoughtful about what you say and how you say it. And when you have advice you want to share, I think you want to ask permission first, and that's only going to be helpful to you. There's one other thing I'd suggest to you, Mike, that might be useful, and that is, you know, in a quiet time, if you ever get your kid in a place where they're not yelling at you, I mean, if they're still agitated and they still haven't calmed down, it's tough to reason with somebody when they're feeling that way. But what you might say to them is, look, maybe this isn't a great time, but I'd really like you to think about it because, you know, I feel very badly. You know, I've apologized for the things that I've done where I've done some dumb things, and I've continued to do some dumb things. I'm trying hard not to do dumb things right now. But if there's anything else that I could do to clean stuff up with you, just with you, because I'm going to do one person at a time, what would that be? And I'd like you to think about that because I'm going to try. If it's reasonable, I really want to try and get and have a relationship that's much more positive than what exists today. Yeah.
Right. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And then when they say something back to you, Mike, let me just finish. When they say something back to you, it may automatically cause you to be defensive, and you can't go there if you want them to feel like they can say what they feel like they need to say to you. So you got to be bigger than them in some ways. In this sense, you got to be more willing to hear something that isn't you're not going to like, and you might have felt like I already dealt with that. Why are you bringing that up when they say something to you that feels real for them and important to say? But if you say, okay, let me think about what to do about that. I really appreciate you telling me that. Then that's all. That'll be very surprising for everybody and encourage them to want to be able to have a relationship with you. I think those are some steps that will be helpful.
I think this is a good suggestion. I think you got something there that I didn't think of. I wouldn't have thought of.
Well, that's what the show's about. All right, Mike, thanks a lot for calling in. I wish you good luck with it.
Hey, You have a good day, too. Bye-bye.
You bet. Bye-bye. Well, so that's what the show's about, folks, is trying to understand what's going on emotionally for people and then trying to think what's going to turn the corner and help you out and figure out a way to deal differently with something that's really important in your life. So if you listened to Mike and you felt like that was useful for Mike, and Mike did, give me a call. Let's hear what you've got going on. The number is 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. I'll give you a minute to think about if you want to be one of the next callers. Again, I've got about 30 minutes left, so if you've got something, I've got some time to talk with you about it. Maybe we can figure something out that'll help you out. The end of the hour, I can't do that for you anymore. So if you got something, give me a call. 203-336-9756. Hi, this is Chuck Wolf. You're on the air. Who am I talking to, please?
Chuck, this is Leo.
Leo, thanks for calling in. How can I help you?
So I've got an issue with my 13-year-old son. I've got at least one issue with him, but try to narrow it down. He's one of those kids that is a computer guy and would rather spend all of his time on the computer if we let him and allowed him to. And I'm an outdoor guy, would rather spend all of my time outside doing any number of outdoor activities. So he's an inside guy, I'm an outside guy. This has been going on for years, and there's a lot of consternation between us. And I'm at my wit's end with how to deal with this. I see his weight increasing. I see him getting a little bit more and more withdrawn, or not antisocial, because he's funny when he's on with his friends there. But he just has no interest in being out or off of that box.
You're describing something that is not unusual, as I'm sure you know, Leo. There's a lot of kids who are really just seem to almost be addicted to sitting in front of a computer screen.
Right.
And actually interviewed somebody way back when. I've been on the radio for about 7 years now, and someone way back when was doing some work to help kids get past that and let go of that kind of alternate reality, if you will, that they just engage in the screen and not in anything real. It seems like to many of us that are older that didn't grow up that way, but can appreciate it. So again, one of the things.
The problem for me is that I don't really, I don't understand it. I understand that it's fun and it's engaging and it can be addictive, but I we've given him every opportunity in terms of outdoor activities, alternatives, sports, instruments, everyone. So take him for a bike ride. Okay, how many? He's got 3 bikes. Take him for. We've done that. So it's he just really has no. It's amazing. He has no interest in it. I took him, recently to he expressed an interest in blacksmithing and blading and knife craft, and I signed him up for a course, and no, I don't want to go. Last minute, he bails out. Not for me. So anyway, I'll listen.
Well, let me ask you a question, Mike. Leo, because one of the things that I was just saying to Mike is the same kind of approach, which is, so anytime you've got a situation that you've been dealing with for a long time, you've got ideas in your head that you've already tried and dismissed. But I just want to, before I jump in, what are you thinking about in terms of if you didn't call today, are there other things you're thinking about trying, or you're really right now at a loss? There's really nothing else to try that you haven't already.
Well, he's he's been to counseling and sees a therapist.
Yep.
I think that, so that's underway, but I am now at my wit's end. I don't know. Almost to the point of, that's the way it is, I guess. I got a couple of kids, and this is the way this one is, and that's the way it goes.
Okay. So if you started therapy, is the therapy based on, do you mind sharing, is it about this, what we're talking about, or something different?
No, it's about, it's about him and, his mood and some of his anxiety, and it's not specifically about his computer use, but that always comes up.
Okay, so he's got some other issues along with this,
Right.
and then that explains a little bit about maybe the being on the screen is something where he feels safe, and being outdoors maybe not so much. One of the things that I used to be a family therapist years ago, and when I find this relationship where, in your situation, you're the dad trying to cultivate a relationship with your son, but you're finding it hard to connect on different things, that sometimes it might make some sense to talk to his therapist and just say, would it make any sense for me to come with him and just talk about some of the ways we're getting along, and if there's some things together we might come up with that make more sense for both of us? In other words, you're paying a therapist to work with your son. Maybe there's some piece of that puzzle that relates to you and your son that might be worth talking about. Would you be willing to kind of go down?
Oh, yeah, we spent some time, especially over the last month, doing that.
Okay.
And it's been enlightening.
So let me offer something then. So you're really looking for something else that's different than what you've already thought of, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So let me just ask: have you tried to engage in his world? I mean, what has been your experience trying to do things with him on the computer, if at all? Have you done that at all?
I have to admit that that's the one piece that I just, it's like diving into a pool of cement for me. I don't even, as hard as it might be for him to engage in my world, it's that hard for me to engage in his. And at this point, honestly, I think he would look, well, I'm kind of thinking for him, but he's going to say, you're just doing this, you're kind of phony. You have no interest in this. But that's me judging him even before I even try. But
so here's the tactical issue is he's right. You have no interest, and you're right in saying he has no interest in going for a bike ride or whatever else it might be. But the bigger interest that you both might have, and I don't think it's you alone that feels this. I'm guessing your son's feeling it too. Is that, hey, I'd love to have a relationship with my dad. I just don't know how. And you'd love to have a relationship with your son, you just don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
So the bigger issue is, I'll give you an example. My grandson loves to play video games. On his big screen, they hooked up video to it, and personally, I have no interest in that. I like playing card games with him, or playing sports with him, or something else. And but what I've chosen to do was to say, look, I want to hang out with you. I want to be with you. And so I'll play video games for a while, but what are you going to do with me? Mm-hmm. And, just like, because I want the relationship. So I don't enjoy it particularly, and I'm not good at it, but I'm funny about it, and I don't care about it, and we have fun together, even when it's silly, and I'm not particularly enjoying playing the game, but we just laugh, and he beats me all the time in it, and that's fun for him. So my point to you is, I wonder if you're showing up in life as unwilling to do what he likes, and you're his role model, why would you expect him to want to do what you like?
Yeah, put that way, it's pretty straightforward.
Does that make sense to you?
It does.
So maybe, and maybe with the therapist's help, or I don't know if you need them, but I mean, it might be useful because if there's a relationship there, if you like that, not every therapist is a great therapist. Some are better than others, and if you feel like you got a good one, then maybe kind of talk a little bit about that, and to talk with your son, with the therapist, no secrets, just kind of figure out, hey, how can we be in each other's lives? I know you don't like necessarily the stuff that I enjoy, and I don't necessarily like the stuff you enjoy, but what I do want is a relationship with you, and so I'm willing, and I hope you're willing, to spend some time in each other's worlds, and I'll pick what I think out of your world that I'm willing to try, and I hope you need to pick something out of my world that you're willing to try, and we'll both recognize that we're not loving this thing, but what we are loving is the fact that we're trying to be together and have a relationship, and that's what's really important.
Chuck, that's gold. I really, really appreciate it.
Okay.
I'll take it to heart. I'm going to listen to the rest of the show and let someone else get on here. Thank you very much.
You bet. Take care, Leo. Good luck with it. Bye-bye. Okay, well, that was Mike and Leo, folks. So I've got about, again, another 20 minutes or so. So if you've got something that's going on for you, and you think you might get some help that would be something that you hadn't thought of on your own, the number to call is 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756. And I'll give you a minute. And again, I got 20 minutes. I still got time to talk to somebody if you got something going on and you don't want to miss the opportunity to give me a call. And by the way, you're listening to Chuck Wolf. This is the Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. We're listening on WPKN 89.5 FM, your favorite nonprofit community radio station. And I like saying award-winning community radio station. That's an award we got this year. Anyway, we serve Fairfield, New Haven, and Litchfield counties in Connecticut and Suffolk County in New York, as well as communities around the world via podcast and streaming at WPKN.org. If you like the show and you want to listen to more, you can listen on podcast. I got another call. Hi, this is Chuck Wolf. You're on the air. Who's calling, please?
Chuck, it's Mark. How are you?
Good, Mark. How you doing?
I'm well.
What can I do for you?
Well, Mark, you know what? This is my first time call listening to you guys, or to you, Chuck, and past couple callers, you've given some great advice.
Thank you.
I've been married for 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want your thoughts on how my wife and I can continue to be a wife. And I.
You're struggling with the relationship right now?
I wouldn't call it a struggle. I would call it getting the kids out of the house, and now we're not having. We're not intimate.
Yep. Okay. And that's been a long time, or just recently?
After number two went off to college this year.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so something triggered it, you think, or do you have any feeling for an event, or is it just sort of just happened on its own without anything triggering it? Because
no, I don't think there was an event. I think if there was an event, it might have been, me going off on a weekend with my golf buddies and coming back, and although there was, and she was a little upset about that. But no, there's no trigger to it.
Well, let me first of all, again, let me just ask you: do you have any plans for how to, rekindle the excitement, the relationship, or is there anything in your mind already about what you're thinking about trying?
Yeah, I've got a million things in my mind. Yeah, dinners and candles and absolutely.
And have you been trying those things?
Yeah. I expressed to her that when we come upstairs, let's on the bedroom stand, I'll light a candle, and then she comes up after I go up and blows the candle out.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, so that's I guess it's a significant event in the sense that not interested, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And have you asked her about why she blows the candle out? Have you had that kind of conversation where you're both?
Oh yeah, I'm tired. I worked all day. I'd love to, but
okay.
I got to get up early in the morning, and I said, well, honey, it's going to be, let's be honest, it's going to be 10, 15 minutes. Come on.
Yeah. Okay. So let me try and be helpful to you, because you're trying some things, you're not having any success, and you really don't want to go anywhere else, and you really want this to work. It's just not working. Right. Okay. So let me try to explain a couple of things for everybody that's listening, not just for you. So one thing is that you're feeling somewhat upset that the intimacy isn't there that was there. It happened over not that long ago, it sounds like, but it happened a while ago, and you think that maybe something you did had some contributory factor to it. And I don't know, and I don't know what it's like being with you day in and day out, and whether or not you're trying really hard. You probably are in your own mind, but whether or not that feels that to your wife, and you're not feeling like your wife is meeting you halfway because you're trying some of these things that you consider to be romantic, and she's feeling like, you know what, thanks, but no thanks. And so it's sort of stuck right now. And so when people feel stuck, you want to feel like, okay, so how do I make the relationship dynamic again, exciting, compelling? How do I get her to feel like, wow, let's spend that 10 to 15 minutes together. Let's go to bed early tonight. So it's really happening for both of you, right?
Right.
And part of that has a lot to do with what you're both bringing to the marriage, what you're both willing to do. And what I find that happens a lot in relationships is that people feel like when they're trying and the other party isn't, that, hey, it makes them mad, right? It frustrates them. It's irritating.
Yeah, is it me?
Yeah. And so one of the things that this is a really interesting way to think about this. And I'm sorry, what was your first name again?
Mark,
okay. So one of the ways to think about this, Mark, is that what if you didn't have any expectations? Now, I realize you do, but what if you kind of said, you know what? I'm not going to expect anything from my wife. I'm here for the long term. I'm not going anywhere. And I'm going to do everything I can, everything I know that I've learned over 27 years that she values when I do it for her. And I'm not going to ask for anything in return. I'm going to be giving and loving and supportive, and I'm going to take 100% responsibility and expect 0% from her. And I'm not willing to give up, because I don't fail at this unless I stop trying. Because at some point it turns around. Because what happens is when you ask people what's the percentage of each person's role in a relationship, and you ask the general, there was actually a study done some years ago where they asked people, tell me what you think, a husband and a wife or two partners, are together, and in terms of the relationship working, what's everybody's percent in terms of ownership of making sure that the relationship continues to work? And people would say things like 50-50. And then some people would joke, no, 75-25, I'm really the one making it work. Or then other people who felt more enlightened would say 100-100. But the truth is, and this is fascinating to think about, the truth is, if I say it's 50-50, then it's really easy for me to say, you know what? It's your 50 that's failing, not mine. If I say that I'm taking 75 and you're not even taking 25, then it's your 25 that's failing, and I'm not the reason this isn't working. And if I say it's 100-100, you know what? It's your 100 that isn't working. And so if you say I got 100 and she's got 0, and you don't expect anything, and you just know that at some point it turns around because of the things that you know how to do, and you stop looking for her to do anything for you, the things that you want to have happen will start happening again.
Good stuff.
Does that help?
Yeah, it helps a lot.
So, but by the way, Mark, just to be clear, this is really hard to do because, when you're working as hard as you can to make the relationship work, and you keep trying candles and you keep doing things you think are romantic, it's more about, did you do the dishes tonight, Mark, without being asked? Did you take the trash out? Did you offer to make her breakfast? Did you? So what I'm saying is, it's not. Yeah. It's all the little stuff in life that we take for granted, because over 27 years, the newness and the excitement isn't there anymore. So what's the value in the relationship? It's because I know I got somebody that loves me unconditionally, and I know that this person's going to love me no matter what I do. But I also know this person's struggling right now with some stuff going on inside her own head, and I'm going to help. I'm going to just give her the time she needs to clean all that up, and I'm going to do everything I can to make life as easy as I can and be as supportive and loving and caring as I can. And then I think it all comes back to you.
There we go. All right.
That help?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, good luck with it, Mark. I wish you the best, and thanks again for the call.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. Okay, folks. So we had Mike, Leo, and Mark. So I'm just curious. So are there any women listening that might want to call in? It'd be nice to get a woman if you're out there and you have something you'd like to share. The number to call is 203-336-9756. 203-336-9756, and I'll give it a minute. I've got about just 10 minutes left, so I've got time for one more call. So again, if you think you got something going on and you'd like to share it, you want to call, you can give me a call, 203-336-9756. Well, it's been a really enjoyable show already for me. I really like the idea of being able to be helpful to people, and I think each person walked away with something that they think is going to make life better for them. And for me, I love making a difference. And so again, you're listening to Chuck Wolf, WPKN 89.5 FM, listener-supported radio, and we've got our caller. Hi, this is Chuck Wolf. You're on the air. Who am I talking to, please? Hello? I'm sorry, are you there? Well, I guess somebody maybe reconsidered, but I hope you call back. Again, it's 203-336-9756. I know it's hard sometimes. I mean, if you haven't ever called a radio show, it's hard enough. I mean, it's a little scary just having your voice on the air. And then if you're calling in about something that's not working the way that you hoped that it would work, that's not easy to talk about. But think about the value that people just got, Mike, Leo, and Mark, and hopefully that you make that call too. And I'll give you another minute. And then if not, as I said, I had a couple of topics I thought I'd address. So one more time, the number's 203-336-9756. Hi, this is Chuck Wolf. You're on the air. Who am I talking to, please?
Hi, Chuck. This is Valerie calling.
I'm sorry, it's who?
Valerie?
Valerie? Okay, thanks for calling, Valerie. How can I help?
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for being there. I'm dealing right now, I'm a breast cancer patient.
Okay.
And I've been finished with treatment for about a year now. Although I just had one last cancer-related surgery in August. But I've never been troubled with anxiety like this before in terms of really fretting about recurrence. And, my husband, by the way, also has cancer. He has lung cancer. So, it's a lot of stress to deal with. And I find myself really plagued, by this anxiety regarding recurrence. And, intellectually, I know all sorts of things that, address this, but I just can't seem to assimilate it right now.
Okay, so you've had some really difficult health issues that are emotionally crippling right now is how it feels, and you're anxious a lot of the time around the recurrence problem, and your husband is, where is he on his lung cancer? Is that, is he being treated, or is it in remission, or is it still?
He had early non-small cell, so he was, the day I finished treatment, I had one day off, and then he went in to have half of his lung removed. So, it's like this continuum has been unbelievable in terms of how unrelenting it is,
Right.
So, and the prognosis is decent, considering it's such a bad kind of cancer, and his last scan was good, so we have our fingers crossed.
So let me just ask the obvious. Have you sought out anybody for help, whether counseling or medication or anything?
Mm-hmm. I just thought I'd double down today.
Okay. So here's the way that this emotion roadmap works is that if you're feeling anxious and you want to feel confident, usually when you're anxious, you want to feel confident in replace of anxious. Maybe you just want to feel calm, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't want to be obsessed. It feels like an obsessive thought to the point where it can intrude on my functioning.
Okay, and so you've got some guidance from the therapist, I imagine, and is that pointed you in any particular direction that feels at all helpful?
I have a lot of tools at my disposal, and I do use them. I meditate, and I've been doing that for 23 years, and I'm at the gym. But I was doing all this stuff before I got cancer, so that's the other thing. It's like, oh, I did everything right, and now I still have it, and it's a lot more of a sobering disease than people realize, because 1 in 3 people have it come back.
Right.
At some point. So I am just trying to be in the moment, like my good old Buddhist training has supposedly taught me all these years. And often I succeed, often I do succeed, and so does he, but we're not always each feeling optimistic at the same time. So we also have to, be with each other's worries.
Well, first of all, I don't have a lot of time, right? Because I have to be off the air at 12:55. So let me try and be very direct and not ask you what else you're thinking about, but just go right to what might be helpful to consider. Please. So one of the ways I think about what you're dealing with is that in some ways it's like the idea of our mortality is brought home big time when you face an illness like what you faced, as opposed to we all sort of have this in the background that, hey, at some point we expire. We don't get to be here all the time, right? So, but when you're dealing with it like that, it keeps creeping up into your consciousness. And now you're not going to stop that from creeping up. But what you want to do is figure out when it does creep up, what's the self-talk that's going on for you when you hear the message of, hey, the cancer may not be gone, or my husband got a bad review, or every single thing is going to trigger that anxiety, except maybe you can reinforce it triggering something different. And if you've had some Buddhism training, then maybe that's helpful with this. And
it is.
And so what I'm suggesting is maybe you think about the fact, we all only get a certain amount of time on this planet. And while it's hard to think about, the fact that you have an illness like this makes it so focused for you, as opposed to most of us that don't have any time frames that we're dealing with that seem, certainly anyone can die tomorrow without any kind of warning.
Yeah.
But you've got a warning. And what the warning can be in terms of a good thing is that the way you live your life in the present moment is incredibly important every day versus most of us that don't really have that anxiety driving that behavior and that focus. And if you can channel it into just reminding yourself how wonderful it is to have this extended time here and to do something meaningful with it, whenever that crops up, to think about the things that you are doing that are meaningful and being thankful for it. Maybe there's a way to try and change the self-talk so that the anxiety, while it's going to pop up, it quiets down right away because you've figured out a way to manage it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So it begins with you recognizing that, hey, we're all on borrowed time. It's just that yours is more in focus than most. And the question,
that's the basic tenet of Buddhism, impermanence. So, day one, they train you in that, although, bringing it to bear now has been difficult, but I understand exactly what you're trying to reinforce.
So what I'm hopeful is you've already had the training. Now the question is, what's the messaging in your own head that you want to give yourself and not quiet down the anxiety. The anxiety is legitimate. It's a legitimate reaction to what's happening. You just want the self-talk about the anxiety to be different so it's not crippling.
Exactly.
So you learn to live with the anxiety, but also recognize that it's giving you a heightened focus for the value of every moment, every second, every day.
It sure has. No, and I appreciate I appreciate this very much because it's one of those things that I need to be reminded of. Just because it's not a situation with a lot of lulls, so I do have to just keep taking each one. Not thinking about the last one, not thinking about the one ahead.
Well, let me suggest that you start today because you're going to have these moments as soon as we hang up, and the better you get at it, the better you're going to feel about it.
Okay, I will.
Okay, all right, Valerie. Thanks for your call.
Good
luck.
Talk to you. Bye.
Bye. Okay, everybody, this has been Chuck Wolf. You've been listening to the Emotion Roadmap. Take the wheel and control how you feel. I want to thank all my callers, and I want to thank everybody listening. I hope you learned something about how much power you actually have to control how you feel. And I'll be back with you on the first week in November. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.